It's been a minute. It's been a hot minute. I always say that. I always say it's been a hot minute since I filmed, and usually I'm being hyperbolic, but really it's been a while since I filmed a video where we just sat down and chatted. So let's do that today. Let's do a quick knit and chat. It's probably not quick though, because I have a lot to yap about. So if you have your coffee, which I have here, or your tea, or your matcha, or your hojicha, or your water, and your knitting or crochet, we don't judge here, feel free to sit down and chat with me while we talk about some things. But also, hi, I forgot. My name is Badge Harry. This is the Harry Knit. We do a lot of knitting content, filming stuff about my life as a knitter, as a knitwear designer, and I just like talking about yarn and fibers and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to film like a podcast, but I feel like a podcast wouldn't really do it justice because I didn't film enough to justify a full-length podcast episode, because I haven't actually finished any FOs in June. And that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But I did manage to work up a new project last week. I'm almost done. We just have to do the body and this sleeve. This is my own pattern that I don't even know if it's going to be released this year. You can see where the yarn has changed. Oh my goodness, I didn't even notice that until I looked at it. Hopefully it's okay. It's a lot more prominent on camera than it is in real life. Like the back looks kind of okay, but I think it's the front where I'm just like, whoa, that color. It's like a mesh tank top that I really like. It's super stretchy, and I'm using Loop Me Firefly. I think this is my last skein, so I'm hoping that I have just about enough to finish maybe about 3 to 4 more inches of the body before I cast off and then do the armhole. This is a local brand. It's DK Weight yarn. I am working on a piece before I go on my honeymoon, and I don't know, it's been a really crazy past couple of weeks. You know, the last time I filmed a video where I was sitting down and talking was probably like maybe a month ago. The video that I think I filmed the most recently was my trip to KL, and if you watched that, it was me talking about wedding prep and finalizing a lot of things that were happening. And now it's July. The nikah has happened. I am now a married woman. I'm not wearing my ring today, but I am now a married woman. This is why I'm not filming at my usual setup, because the room is a complete mess. It really is. The room is a complete mess because we're moving a lot of his stuff into my room, and my room is definitely meant for only one person right now. So we have to find space for his clothes, his monitor, his things. So we're just trying to sort everything out, making sure everything is in its place. You know, it's been a wild ride getting married, or the process of getting married. I have mentioned this many times. I am Malay, I'm Bruneian, and our wedding traditions are rooted in culture and our religion, which is awesome. I think if you've seen what I've posted either on my knitting account or like my main Instagram, like you can see how almost extravagant they are, especially if you haven't known too much. And you know, if you're in the US or anywhere else around the world, I don't really blame you for not knowing too much about our wedding culture here. So I think a week before the nikah, which is the wedding day, I wasn't allowed to leave the house. We call it bantang, which basically means I'm under house arrest. So I can't leave the house. Supposedly I'm not even allowed to see my future affianced person, but then I saw him on like the Saturday and then not at all for the rest of the day. So I was basically under house arrest, which is fine. Got me some time to knit, like knitting this project that I'm making, and you know, really spend some time with my family and a lot of my friends who were involved with the wedding day and the wedding prep. We had the Berbadak Mandi on, I forgot what day it was. It was, I think, the Sunday. And then we had the Berbadak Malam, which is another powdering ceremony. And then we had the nikah, or the solemnization, the actual wedding, on Friday, almost a week ago. So it's been very, very hectic. And we also had some balulut, so just some scrubs and all those kind of things. And I feel a lot more at ease now that the nikah is over, which was the event that I feel like took the most prep, that I had the most worry about, simply because that is when I'm officially married. The Sundings that are happening this Saturday and Sunday, no, it's this Saturday and Monday, will be the receptions. So we have one reception for my family, one reception for his family. And some of my friends from the UK are coming from uni, which is amazing. I'm so excited to see them. But I feel a lot of anxiety when I was leading up to this wedding. You know, I didn't feel like I was getting cold feet. That was something that, you know, I heard a lot of talk about from some family and some of my friends who were like, and even social media, you know, people getting cold feet, like being worried about the wedding. You know, I don't think I felt a lot of cold feet. I think I felt completely fine about the act of getting married, because I was getting married to someone that I really cared about. I was not worried about him at all. I was worried about myself and just all the anxieties leading up to make sure that wedding was good and that everything flowed smoothly, and it did. Thankfully, I was only there, I think I entered maybe an hour into the ceremony or something like that, maybe an hour and a half, and I was watching the video of the live feed when it came up, and it all looked so amazing, and my family and my friends did such an incredible job, and the photographer and like the videographers did such a great job too. And then, you know, I saw my now husband and everything just became okay. I definitely feel a lot more relief now that the wedding planning is over and now we're at the later stages. I'm going to my honeymoon next week. So I'm going to Australia, I'm going to Melbourne to really just, you know, spend some time with my partner. We wanted to go someplace that's kind of cold, which is a nice change from the heat that's been happening in Brunei and Southeast Asia. And I just really wanted to, you know, spend some time with my husband, which would be really nice. So I'm pre-filming a lot of videos for YouTube, because sometimes the YouTube algorithm sucks, and that if you don't stay consistent, you do not get, you know, the views or the things that you really want YouTube to work in your favor. And I've definitely been a part of that issue. Like, I know earlier this year I wasn't as consistent with my YouTube videos because I wasn't able to find that groove when it came to filming videos, especially for this channel and also for the Instagram. But I've been a lot more consistent because I've realized I definitely need to start taking a lot more, I don't want to say responsibilities, but definitely put a lot more effort than what I feel like I was doing earlier on. I was a lot more consistent back in 2022 when I wasn't really thinking about YouTube as a job. And I still don't really think of this channel as a job, even though I do want to eventually do more knitting content or more knitting related stuff for the Hairy Knit and the business. But one of the things that I was thinking about and I've been talking about is being more consistent on YouTube and on social media. And it is a double-edged sword, you know. I think it's been great to see, like, ever since I started posting regularly, I think sometime in April and May, there has been really great consistency. I see a lot new faces, so hi, thank you for being here. But it is a little overwhelming and almost a little bit scary sometimes. Like, I don't try to respond to comments as much, even though I do. Like, if you post a comment on a recent video, I'll definitely reply. But I'm also very well aware that sometimes people leave mean comments about my knitting or about something I said, even though it's taken out of context. And, you know, that's just something that happens in life, and that's perfectly understandable. I can't really fault somebody for, you know, taking it the wrong way. That's just how life is. I can really only focus on the type of content I make, how I can be consistent, and how I can really just make sure my content or the videos that I put out is the best that it can be, especially as a knitter in the space that I'm in right now, which is very much in Southeast Asia where not a lot of people knit. At least by comparison, there's just not a lot of people here in Brunei. I think we're a population of less than 500,000. In the US, it's about 300 million. So obviously in terms of sliding scale, there's way more knitters like outside of my country. And that's totally fine. That just means I have more like international friends that I can just chat about knitting and hang out with. I think when it comes to being consistent on YouTube, I do love making videos. I've been making videos since I was like, I want to say 18. Not on this channel specifically, but I have had like channels before where I did beauty and fashion and all that kind of stuff. And then, I do something like knitting, which I'm a lot more passionate about right now compared to like my fashion content on YouTube at least. I have a lot more knowledge that I can share with people and a lot more opinions to give when it comes to knitting. But I think that is just the feelings you kind of get when you're trying to be consistent with something or you're trying to grow your business on a scale that you never really thought was possible. And I say that as somebody who I think I'm so lucky to be able to do a job, a career like this, where I just have to talk to people about my hobby and like what I love to do, which is knitting. I think when I think about it, a lot of the people who watch me are not from Brunei. They're from the US and the UK and Australia. And if you're not from there, tell me where you're from, because I feel like that would be so cool to know where everybody's from. But that also means that like a lot of what I do on my knitting channel, not a lot of people in my real life know about. So it's such a Hannah Montana moment trying to explain to people what I do as like a career that I want to enter into, simply because it's so different. Even though we're trying here in Brunei, we organize like craft sessions and we work with companies here in Brunei to teach knitting classes and even crochet. Even though I'm not the best, we hire facilitators to help out. So we're giving opportunities to locals here, which I really love, and we want to provide more jobs and opportunities. And that's one thing that I have to accept as well, is that, if I wanted to scale, we're talking business here, but I don't know anyone else to yap to. If I wanted to scale, let's say the hairy knit, for example, or I wanted to make more knitting patterns, for example, realistically, I cannot be the only one to focus on just social media, for example. If I can't put 100% focus on my, knitting patterns and designs. Like this is the Cuti Bandana. This was released back in June, 1st June. And thank you. If you want to find it, it's on Ravelry. I realized that something like this, like the bandanas, it is a very community support system, not just in terms of tech editors and test knitters. It's also having systems in place. Like I finally downloaded Stitch Mastery. It was pretty expensive, not gonna lie, but it was a business expense, and I think it was worthwhile because it has really helped with creating designs that I use even for a pattern like this. Even though it's just a sample, it has helped with how my brain works and how I can like visualize things, compared to like when I was doing the Rehat Sweater, which was free-handed. I couldn't really visualize it so well, and these are things that I need to do in order to become a better designer, a better knitter, a better business owner, I guess, which is to really invest in the business and like, any money that gets put into it, whether from sales or like from knitting, teaching people how to knit, or even the commissions, they always get put out back into reinvesting and all of that stuff. And that's what we've been doing with our Instagram and our YouTube. So like now I have somebody to help out when it comes to filming videos. I've hired somebody to just part-time help out, which is great. So whatever stresses I have, I could just ask her to do it, which is awesome. That is an expense that I think was worth it for the business. But then it also goes into, gosh, I hope I am a good boss, which is weird to say. Like that is one thing no one tells you about when you're like a business owner or like an entrepreneur, you always be like, oh, work for yourself, make your own money. But you always need help. And you need people who not necessarily believe in your business, but want to help you achieve it, whether that's like your mentors or your employees. And that was something I was so worried about because, oh, my second calling me. Hello? Sorry about that. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Business stuff. Business things. No one told me about what it's like to really seek help. And that's something that I wish I did much earlier on when I was first starting out, was to seek help. Because I was in this mindset that was like, oh, this, like, no one wants to learn how to knit, or like people don't really get it, or like crafting is such a small niche that no one else can understand it. But that's not true. And I'm very thankful that I've met this community of people who are interested in knitting and crochet and want to see it grow here in Brunei and even internationally. You know, even if it's like just a tiny little part of the internet where I'm selling patterns and stuff, it's still really great for us as a small business based in Brunei that we don't have to worry about our own local economy. Like, we don't have to think about, you know, how many knitters or crocheters realistically can purchase our patterns here in Brunei, because the people who we're trying to, you know, show our patterns to, like these bandanas or the Rehat Sweater, you guys are based not in Brunei. We don't have to worry about that. And so it's been great for us and that potential that we see. And we talk a lot with other business women, especially because I love talking to business women. They're so fun to chat to, like legit. They're so interesting, and I love hearing their life story and why they create their own businesses. We talk a lot about scalability and how to grow your business, but in truth is you create a business as well to help the economy, to have people create jobs. And that has been such an honor and such a really worthwhile thing to do with somebody who, like, for me, I would consider my knitting channel and stuff to be still pretty gosh darn small. 8,000, great number, thank you, heart emoji, sending you love and kisses. Oh my god, I will throw all my love towards you. And that is still great for us. It's just sometimes really overwhelming to deal with that, because I'm still thinking about the finances of a business, making sure that my employees are paid a livable wage, that I am paying my tech editors what they deserve, and ensuring that I am also making enough that I can be stable, is such a new experience for me as somebody who, by all accounts, as a freelancer in a whole different sphere that relies on the Brunei economy as a job for my other career, is so different. And that's something I have to really understand and work with. And so I'm feeling a lot of anxiety about this sort of thing. And I think I'm just all over in my head when I talk about stuff like this, because it feels so professional, it feels so mature. And I know that I'm like turning 27 in a month, but it doesn't feel that way to me. It's really strange to me. There are people in this world who want to hear me talk about knitting, a hobby that I was doing when I was 12 years old, that I was really bad at 12 years old. I want to add that. But then there are people who are interested in the patterns I want to make, and that I want to create something that is good for not just my country, but for the world. And it's so overwhelming, which is why I think after I filmed this video and a couple of others, I want my honeymoon to be a break before I get back into knitting for the hairy knit and then all the other classes that we're planning on doing, just so that, you know, I'm more refreshed and I don't need to feel like I am too stressed all the time, because I have experienced that when I was younger. Burnout is real. Being tired of everything is such a real, valid feeling that I would not want to happen again. when I was at uni a long time ago, it feels like a long time ago. I was in university in like 2016, so that was like more than 8 years ago. And I graduated 5 years ago, but I still feel the effects of the burnout, trying to balance like studying law, living in a new country, experiencing so many new things while still trying to maintain like a content creation lifestyle in Brunei, which was not happening. And as well as just I had no time to knit. And it was so overwhelming to me at that time. And I think there were many, many periods during that time in my life where I was just very burnt out and tired, that now I'm in my 20s, I'm entering my late 20s. I don't want to experience that again. And I just want to work at a consistent pace that I know is worth it to me. And that goes back into what I said about getting married. Circling back into the marriage part, because, that was what I potentially wanted this video to be about, was the anxieties of getting married. But in truth, once all is said and done, I am perfectly okay with getting married. If you asked me in 2022 about my thoughts on getting married, I would say I wasn't ready. And I agree. I think if you asked me to get married in 2022, I would not have been ready. I think I would have been very stressed out, freaked out, a lot of feelings. But now at like 26, 27, I feel a lot more calmer about it, because I know that my partner that I'm with now is a very great guy. He doesn't watch my knitting content, which is fine. I don't particularly care. But it's true. One of the discussions we had for a long time was like, how does marriage look like for us? Or, what are the expectations you have and I have as man and wife, or husband and woman? That is a conversation I think everyone should have before they get married. I'm one of the first people to get married in my friend groups, so they also are thinking about these things. They want to get married, they want to find the right one. And I don't know. I think I'm at the age where a bunch of people are getting married. I think I've seen like 4 or 5 weddings this month alone. There are people that are having their babies. And then there's also people that are starting businesses or getting that promotion, and I'm so proud of them. I think of all these things and how life has changed so much within the past 5 years. I've really come to appreciate life, how wild it can be for so many different people. I'm excited to see where this chapter, let's say, this chapter of my life goes, both as like a wife, and I don't know why I use wife as quotations. I am a wife, but also as like a knitter and a business owner, because it is something that I think has a lot of potential. I just needed to really feel that push and desire in myself to really want it to be something. And maybe you disagree. Maybe knitting for you is just a personal hobby, and that is totally okay. I mean, honestly, some hobbies should stay hobbies. There's a reason why I'm not like a gym account. I'm taking it as an example. There's a reason why I don't have like a bullet journaling TikTok or account. Not every hobby needs to be monetized. It just so happens knitting was the hobby I decided to monetize. Other people can make really great content about running or hitting the gym or hitting the deadlifts or whatever, or having all these beautiful markers. These are hobbies that I do, but I don't intend to like make it a big thing, because that's just not me. I think that's where I think about it, and that's where I think also like to find that balance in my life. And I think I've made that balance a lot more clearly now. I just know that I want it to be more consistent as the years go on. But we shall see about that. It's halfway through the year. We are entering July, and it honestly does not feel like it's July. I'm still thinking it's June, even though, I'm married now. I've got a husband. And life has been ever so much growing and changing and evolving. But so long as I still have the things that stay the same, like my friends and my family, I think I will be okay. I'm not going to say I'm going to be perfect or amazing, because who is? But I think I will be okay with where I am going, so long as I have the support system. And I hope you do too. I hope you are in a stage of your life where you're growing and ever changing, maybe you're not at the place where you thought you'd be, life does get better, I promise. Look at me saying that while I'm knitting, because, you know, this is a very basic stitch. It's like very repetitive, and I quite like the repetitiveness of it, because I was working on the pattern that I was working on. I was working on the pattern that I was doing while I was in KL. And I realized I didn't like how bulky it was, and I didn't quite love the stitch that it was making the mesh. So I was thinking to myself, I shouldn't make it in a smaller weight, and I should try a different type of stitch. So I was just playing around with Stitch Mastery and like thinking about how it would look like. And I found that I really like this mesh look. It'll look better once it's blocked, I promise, but I quite like it. I'm almost done. I think this video is going for as long as it is. It's way past 30 minutes now, so I think I'm gonna end this video. I'm gonna have lunch, and I will also see you later. So thank you so much for listening to me yap. If you like this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Do all the usual stuff, and I will see you soon. Bye!